My favorite TV shows, man, is Sports Center, ESPN News, Partner Interruption, Around the Horn, quite frankly, um, Outside the Lines, Baseball Tonight. You know what I mean? I watch sports, dog. That's what I'm trying to say. I watch sports, man. That's what I'm into. Sports. Every sport. Hockey, golf, basketball, football, of course. Baseball. You know what I mean? I got a favorite team, a favorite player in every single sport. I'm not going to answer those questions.
Thank you for tuning in, everyone. You're listening to Q&A on W.C.C.U. Radio, Coastal Carolina University's student radio station. I hope you're enjoying your day so far, being blessed. I'm with you. This is your host, the A in Q&A, Mr. Addison Taylor. And I hope everyone's enjoying their day so far. I can say that I am. It's a beautiful day outside. We have a couple sun rays, so hope you're trying to stay as warm as possible. If you've been with us from the start, I think this is going on our 7th show. So I want to appreciate all the support and everyone tuning in. If this is your first time, this is the most illustrious, intelligent, and innovative sports show on the airwaves today. We're giving you sports from a younger perspective, of course. And if this is your first time tuning in, you're in for a good quality show, as we always give you. We're covering a couple of sports topics today. But before we get it started, I just want to give a couple of quick shout-outs. First, I want to give a shout-out to Miss Barbara Shepard, who I met in my restaurant, Carolina Roadhouse, the other day. She was in with some phenomenal people. So if you're tuning in, Miss Shepard, I appreciate you. I appreciate your wisdom and, just being a kind person. Also, I want to give a shout-out to my grandparents, George and Minnie Taylor. I hope they're tuning in. First-time listeners, the first time of many. So love y'all. Hope you're tuning in. Today, folks, we're going to start with our first topic. You might have heard about it. LeSean McCoy, former running back of the Philadelphia Eagles, is being traded to the Buffalo Bills. Yes, I said it. LeSean McCoy is being traded to the Buffalo Bills. The question that I've been asked, Addison, is this better for Buffalo or for Philly? And we're going to do what we do on Q&A. We're going to break it down, and we'll come up with the best answer. For me, it totally and solely depends on if it's going to be a reason for moving up in the draft to get quarterback Marcus Mariota, formerly from Oregon, who is definitely familiar with Philadelphia coach Chip Kelly and the fast-paced schemes that he loves to run there. If you don't really know or really haven't broken down that game yet, Oregon has really introduced a new style of offense that Chip Kelly has taken into the National Football League. And they're really averaging a few seconds of play, folks. If you break it down and think about it, that's really something difficult to do. And it's the reason why coaches, old school coaches, like the Nick Sabans of the world, like the Les Miles of the world, they're trying to slow the game down because it's getting too fast. The Eagles have agreed to send LeSean McCoy to the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills have agreed to send linebacker Kiko Alonso to Philadelphia. The deal cannot be made official until the new league year begins next Tuesday, March 10th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. LeSean McCoy's agent, Drew Rosenhaus, put out a statement that I thought was very, very interesting. He says, "I just spoke with the Eagles organization, and there is no trade for LeSean at this time. There have been discussions, but nothing finalized." So what I took from that is basically that they can't say anything legally until next Tuesday. But we're telling you here, folks, on Q&A that LeSean McCoy, if you're an Eagles fan, you're losing LeSean McCoy. Just to break it down, is this a loss for them? Well, let's just break down LeSean McCoy's numbers very quickly, folks. McCoy has the third most rushing yards with 6,792. And the fourth most rushing touchdowns with 44 since he was drafted by the Eagles in the second round of the 2009 NFL Draft. For his career, he's averaging 4.6 yards per carry, which is phenomenal. That's halfway to a first down every time he touches the ball. He finished last season, and this is the thing that was interesting to me. A lot of people are making points and saying that, LeSean McCoy was on a drop-off and that his career was starting to decline, maybe equivalent to Ray Rice before all his personal misconduct and issues came to light. Um, and I kind of thought that myself, folks, but then I looked at the numbers. He finished last season with 1,319 rushing yards. That was third most in the National Football League. So let's not be so quick to critique the numbers and talk about the downplay of these running backs and these players because, the numbers say that there hasn't been really much of a decline. Um, LaShawn McCoy is 26 years old, so he's not getting to that, those rough 30 years, especially for running backs, 29, 30. He still has 4 more solid years before he, effectively is hit by that bug. Um, but it's reported by ESPN's Josina Anderson, um, with a close source saying that McCoy is upset about the move. And for his sake, I can understand why he would be upset. He's never played football outside of Pennsylvania. He's from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Played at Bishop McDevitt High School. He played his college at Pittsburgh. So you can understand why he's feeling a little internal turmoil right now because his life and soul and body have really been a product of Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. So I know he hates to really see this departure take place. But he's owed over $12 million, and we'll get to the financial numbers next. Which you could say if they're trying to get up to draft Marcus Mariota, they're definitely making and going in the right direction to do that by freeing up a lot of this cap space. Um, Once again, LaShawn McCoy is a 3-time Pro Bowler, 2011, 13, and last year's season. He's a 2-time first-team All-Pro, 2011 and 2013. This is my thing, folks. For the ones that say his numbers have decreased, that his value has decreased as well. He was ranked number 5 in the top 100 players of 2014. He was the rushing leader in 2013 and also the offensive player of the year. And he was the rushing touchdown leader in 2011. So his longevity in the league, or his tenure so far, has definitely been, substantial. He's not, maybe his numbers are declining, meaning rushing yards per year, but if you compare him to all the other running backs in the league, the only people that have really been consistent are Adrian Peterson before his personal misconduct and actions came to light. The reason why I'm not throwing DeMarco Murray's name in there, folks, is if you really think about it, DeMarco Murray, just like, some of these other players, past years, maybe Joe Flacco, they have one good year and they get paid. So that's what we also need to understand about sports for now in today's society and how they're being perceived from our generation, from my generation, the younger generation that's going to be running the world here shortly. Um, you can't really compare him because he's been consistent throughout this whole time. He's the Eagles single season rushing record leader in 2013 with 1,607 yards. So, for me, who is this better for? Obviously, if you can go up and get Marcus Mariota, it's definitely better for the Eagles. But for right now, with the draft not being till later this spring, I have to give my grade, and I have to say that the better fit and who won out of this trade has to be the Buffalo Bills. Um, they give up Kiko Alonso, who was the 3rd-round pick in 2013, played his college football at Oregon. Um, not a bad player, tore his ACL, so he missed last season. But if you refer back to his rookie season of 2013, I mean, he was on the Buffalo Bills final practice squad, final squad. Um, I mean, really, folks, he played every snap for the Bills as a rookie and ranked 3rd in the National Football League in 2013 with 159 tackles. So his productivity is definitely there. He's coming off of an injury, but in today's society, in today's world, how quickly we see people bounce back from injuries, you can't really count him out. But like I said before, we're going to go to the numbers now, and we'll let those decide, who really is making a better move here. The Eagles cleared cap space by making the move. McCoy's 11.95 or $12 million roughly will count against their 2015 cap space. The Bills would owe LaShawn McCoy $10.25 million this upcoming season. And the Eagles have also released Trent Cole and Kerry Williams, who would have combined for an amount of $19.79 million against the salary cap this season. So basically, and if you don't know about the salary cap, that's really the amount of money the teams can spend on players and things like that. And it's bumping up to what I've heard to be 143 million for next season. So you can definitely see, why the Eagles are making these moves. You can definitely understand it from a financial and a business aspect. But on the playing aspect, when it comes to being on the field and what team has the best cohesion and making the best moves right now, I have to give that to the Buffalo Bills, and this is why. The Philadelphia Eagles don't necessarily know if they're going to be able to get Mariota or not. If you think about it, they might be giving up too much for Marcus Mariota when they could potentially already have a starting quarterback on their roster right now in Nick Foles. Last year he was injured. We know about all those things. We know about Mark Sanchez. And really how he made the Philadelphia Eagles go from kind of looking prominent to very dismal. But Nick Foles, I mean, in 2013, folks, which I know was going on 2 seasons ago, but if we're basing a lot of things off past stats, and really past athletic ability like we do, he had 27 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in 2013. So really, if you're Philadelphia, you don't know what you have. You don't know what you're going to get, or if you're even going to be able to go get Mariota. One of these teams needing a quarterback might be more willing to take him than to receive all these pieces for him. So for me, folks, I think this is good for Buffalo. They have a new coach, Rex Ryan, who's a former coach of the New York Jets, which is really nothing to talk about. The Jets are on that, quickly, I just want to say this. The Jets are on that list. I just have this list of sporting teams, not particular athletic. We're kind of doing it just around the whole sports realm. The Jets are on that list with the Knicks and the Brooklyn Nets. Those are teams that they don't even need to be playing anymore. If you have season tickets, for my season ticket holders for some of those teams, I feel really bad for you because you're spending the money, but I digress. We'll save that for another topic. But yes, Rex Ryan, new coach, new head coach, he should be extremely joyous. If you think about it, if you look at their roster right now, Fred Jackson, who is a phenomenal running back, he has a very, very, positive amount of longevity in the league. He's been consistent. He's been a starter. You can't go wrong with that, but he is also 34 years old. We know what C.J. Spiller can do when he's healthy, but he can't stay healthy. And he's an unrestricted free agent as well. They have wide receiver Sammy Watkins, formerly from Clemson. For all my Clemson fans out there, for all my Bills fans out there, we might not have saw the best year for Sammy Watkins, but that was also his rookie year. He was transitioning, and he also wasn't on the best team. So if you think about it, they have a lot of upside going into next season. They finished 9-7, and they're in the AFC East, folks. So they need to get some firepower on offense. They're there with the Miami Dolphins. They're there with the New York Jets. They're also there with the world champion New England Patriots. So, of course, we know what Rex Ryan can do defensively. You can say right now that on paper, if they make the correct moves, the Buffalo Bills could be a top 5 defense, maybe one of the best defenses in the league going into next season. I can honestly say that. And if you're a fan of football, especially on the National Football League, that level, you should be able to understand that as well because you know what Rex Ryan can do defensively. We know what he did with the New York Jets defensively. We know about them going to back-to-back AFC Championship games, with that defense really carrying that team. So I feel like if he gets an offense that can be roughly balanced, a little bit of ground and pound, like I said, they finished 9-7 last season. Wasn't bad for the Buffalo Bills. They actually had a couple of spurts and they beat a couple of teams, that are very good. We saw some surprising acts from them last season. But their numbers, folks, are very low. They averaged 92.6 rushing yards per game last year. That was 25th in the league. Keep in mind there's only 32 teams. Anyways, really, it's about that quarterback position. They need a solid quarterback. Is it going to be Kyle Orton? Is it going to be E.J. Manuel? If they can get a solid quarterback back there who they can trust, who has a sense of poise, who is comfortable, who is confident, and who is stable. I know E.J. Manuel has some injuries and things like that. Kyle Orton has just had a longer career. But I feel like E.J. Manuel can be that guy, but he needs to stay healthy. He needs to do a lot of working in the offseason right now. But, if you're the Buffalo Bills, you have to be ecstatic about the acquisition or the future acquisition of LaShawn McCoy and his services. He can ball. I mean, the kid can ball. Like Stephen A. Smith said, he's a bad man. He can run outside of the tackles. People go against him from not being an inside runner. He can run inside if he needs to. He has some power to him. But if you have that skill, he has a real scat back type feel to him, even though he's a bigger back. So I definitely think LaShawn McCoy's services would be appreciated by the Buffalo Bills, and hopefully they're exploited, to the fullest degree, and they really give him the ball and let him, reach his ceiling or potential. He might not potentially want to play there, but if they start to do well, the cohesion and the camaraderie of the team will blend, and it'll really be something that he can't deny. Success and winning, breeds positivity and high morale. So, if they start to win, if they are successful, if they become a family very quickly, if Rex kind of gets a common denominator, maybe a status quo to that team and gets everybody on the same page and they buy in, which that's all it's about really nowadays, folks. You have to buy in. You have to buy into what the coach and what the ownership and what the general manager. You have to buy into what the team is trying to do. And if you look at the Buffalo Bills, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but LaShawn McCoy, Sammy Watkins, you have these key offensive skill players. We know what the defense can do with Rex Ryan at the helm. If they get a solid quarterback, I think that the Buffalo Bills could potentially be a team to beat in the NFC East, in the AFC, excuse me, and in the NFL for that matter. So we'll see. But when it comes down to it, folks, is it better for Buffalo or Philly? I'm going to definitely have to go with Buffalo, side with Buffalo on this one. Next, folks, we're going to move on to our second topic, a little bit unorthodox. I'm going to give you something different today. We're talking about swimming. Yes, folks, swimming. Professional, that is. We're talking about Michael Phelps, and he could possibly be reinstated for the World Championships in Kazan, Russia. The question is this good for the sport? Michael Phelps is ending or near the end of his 6-month suspension, which was triggered by his second drunken driving offense. If you don't know about Michael Phelps, I'll be highly surprised, but let's just say that you don't. This man is an 18-time Olympic gold medalist. I'm going to say that one more time. 18-time Olympic gold medalist in the 100, 200, and also the relay meter dashes. He was removed from the United States roster because of his misconduct. He's 29 years old, very young. And we've seen from swimming, it's not about, age. It's really about how high you can compete at a competitive level for your competition. For me, when I said, is this good for the sport, I answered yes. And I, want to defend myself and say right now, like I spoke about with other previous incidents, even regarding Ray Rice, Adrian Peterson, Greg Hardy, I'm not supporting these men's motives whatsoever. What they do off the field, out of the pool, off the court, off the diamond, off the ice, that's their personal business. So I don't judge anybody for that, but I'm also not defending them as well. What we do on Q&A, we go by the facts, the stats, and the intellect. That's why we come to the conclusions that we make. And that's why I'm saying that this is good for the sport. Because, folks, and we talked about this with the Chicago and the Little League World Series and some of those things, this is another example of a little bit of political, a little bit of business content being thrown in there. That's the one common denominator between all sports athletics, folks. Then this might be something that we're just noticing today with all the social media and the new technology that this generation, the younger generation, is producing. But it has to be good for the sport because, and I have a few quotes here that can really, really attest to what I'm saying. On the political side of things, it has to be good for the sport because Michael Phelps is swimming. He is the revenue for that. And if you listen to the quotes that I'm about to say, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Like I said, he's nearing the end of a 6-month suspension. USA Swimming Executive Director Chuck Wilgus, hope I said that name right, Chuck, told ESPN.com that he and Phelps have had informal, preliminary conversations about a possible reinstatement. This is his quote. "It's complicated, but there are ways in which it could happen. There's a pathway for things to be reconsidered or considered. Interesting. There's a lot of it's in there. It's complicated, but there are ways in which it could happen. There's a pathway for things to be reconsidered or considered. So basically that's saying, we've dissected the numbers and we've came to the conclusion that, Michael, when you don't run, people don't watch. Therefore, we need you to run. We need you to swim. Any decision will be made by the national team director, Frank Bush, and the USA Swimming Executive Committee. But like I said, a couple more quotes, folks. USA Swimming spokesperson Scott Lietman added, "At this point, it's premature to discuss any specifics about the next step." Well, it's too late, Scott. The specifics are out. People are discussing it. So once it gets into the media and the eyes of the fans and the fans that want to see Michael, they're going to lobby and control Michael to be put back in that pool. We know, how successful he is. He's the face of that sport. We've seen the decline in his amount of commercials and things like that. We haven't seen a lot of branding, because of these things that have happened with the, misconduct and things like that, things that he's done outside of the sport in his personal life. But it's getting to the point where these questions are so fabricated because these people that are representing him and representing the USA Swimming Committee, they understand these things, but they can't come out and outright say it that we need Michael. But when you look at their quotes, that's exactly what they're saying. There's a lot of undertones and a lot of hidden messages there. Michael Phelps' suspension ends April 6th, and he's already been quoted and says that he will return to competition at the Arena Pro Series meet scheduled for April 15th through the 18th in Mesa, Arizona. Veteran Olympian and national team member Natalie Coughlin said, listen to this, folks, "Keeping Phelps off the world's team was overreaching." So basically, we know we need him. The sport knows that they need him. The fans need him. So we have to give the people what they want. I think suspending him for that long and kicking him off the World Cup team, I thought that was foolish back then when I first read about it, because I knew they were going to bring him back, and I knew that this would be going on and we'd be talking about this right now. I just think that, the world, the media, sports media, we need to become aware of this political and business side and stop being so dumbfounded and bewildered about it. Like I spoke about with the Little League World Series and them snatching that championship from, Jackie Robinson West. Kids have been recruited and illegally recruited and lobbied to go to other teams and play for other teams and all-star teams for since the beginning of time, I'm sure. There's always that underlying aspect of sports. Look at the Pete Roses, the Barry Bonds. It's even gotten into UFC and swimming, baseball. It's the common denominator, folks, that we need to understand. There's always another side to it. It's a glacier effect, and we always talked about that in school. And if you're not familiar with it, let me break it down to you. When you see a glacier, you see what's on the surface. You see what's on the top of the water. You see what's visible to the human eye right then and there. But folks, beneath that surface is way more glacier, and it's way more than what you see on the surface. So let's have that third eye open. Let's be able to decipher between what's true and what statements are just being put into the media. There's a lot of framing and priming and gatekeeping going on, and we're the public. And those gatekeepers, they're controlling what media is coming to the public. So once we get that media, we need to be able to decipher and, figure out what's true and what's not. And on this aspect, is it good for the sport? That might not be the best wording of the question, but Michael Phelps is good for the sport, and the sport needs Michael Phelps, and that's how I answer it. We'll move on to our third topic, folks. We're going to the National Basketball Association, the NBA. The Denver Nuggets fired their coach, or former coach, Brian Shaw the other day. The question is, Well, the question that was presented to me, Addison, is this Shaw or the Nuggets to blame? To me, folks, I have to go with the Denver Nuggets, and I'll let you know why. Just to keep you up to speed, right now Melvin Hunt, which is one of Shaw's assistants, will serve as the interim coach. They did actually win their first game in I think 10 games last night. But to me, folks, this is still the Nuggets' fault. General Manager Tim Connolly announced, "I want to sincerely thank Brian for his time with our organization. You won't find a better guy than Brian, and he is one of the brightest basketball minds I've ever been around. Unfortunately, things did not go as we hoped, but we know, with his basketball acumen, that he has a bright future ahead of him." The Nuggets are, well, they were 20 and 39. They're now 21 and 39 on the season as a record. 18 and 20 through the first 38 games, and they're 2 and 19 since before last night. Josh Kroenke, who's the team president, was quoted to say, "We appreciate Nuggets fans' continued faith and patience as we build our proud organization back to the NBA's elite." Folks, that quote was so interesting to me because of the last 5 words. Back to the NBA's elite. For all my NBA fans out there, when was the last time that the Denver Nuggets were elite? Seriously. I mean, even when they had Carmelo Anthony, I mean, what has Carmelo made it to the playoffs? Just a handful of times? He's never made it past the first round, maybe? Um, that's interesting. You know, back to the NBA's elite. When I think of the NBA's elite, especially in the Western Conference, I think of the Spurs, newly the Warriors, the past couple of seasons, the Warriors, the Clippers, the Trailblazers. Um, I could even say, the Lakers. I mean, even though, they haven't been doing well the past couple of seasons, they might not be considered one of the NBA's elite now, but overall they are as a franchise, and the Nuggets aren't that. To me, the most exciting time I ever saw in Denver was when they traded to get Allen Iverson, and I was like, oh my gosh, Allen Iverson and Carmelo Anthony together. They're gonna do this, they're gonna do that. They did nothing. Brian Shaw complained about maturity and professionalism of some of the players, but was told to work through the issues. Interesting. To me, folks, this is a PR move. We saw that it broke the other day in the media that the team, the Nuggets, broke a huddle coming out of a timeout in Friday's home loss to the Utah Jazz, and they came out of that huddle with a chant saying 1, 2, 3, 6 weeks. That's 1, 2, 3, 6 weeks. Not 1, 2, 3 go or anything like that. 1, 2, 3, 6 weeks. So a lot of people are getting that misconstrued, and they're thinking and they're believing, and I feel like the Nuggets believe this as well once they saw it in the media, that this means 1, 2, 3, 6 weeks till the season is over. Now, Brian Shaw is going on record to say that this is meaning 1, 2, 3, 6 weeks, meaning 6 weeks the last time, they've won a home game. Which, when you think about it, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I can say it was accurate. That was probably accurate with them saying 1, 2, 3, 6 weeks as far as the season goes. But at the same time, I can't solely blame that on Brian Shaw because, like he said about complaining about the maturity and professionalism, if these guys are in the NBA and they're at the highest level of professional basketball in the world, in the entire world, in the universe, and you're willing as a grown man to end your chant with 1, 2, 3, 6 weeks, then there's something wrong with you. Maybe you shouldn't be playing in the National Basketball Association. You should give some of these other guys in the D League a chance. Anyways, for me, folks, this is the Nuggets' fault because you have to hire a coach for your time and for your team. Brian Shaw was an assistant to George Karl. I think he's a phenomenal basketball mind. I think that he could be a phenomenal coach. But you have to structure your coach around your players. It's not like college basketball. College basketball is a lot about the players, and now it's about the one and dones, but it's always been about the coaching. Who are the best coaches? Who are the best coaches? Who's doing the best coaching? What coaches are reaching the Final Four? What coaches are winning national championships, conference championships, preseason championships? These tournaments that they're doing. So, you need to get a head coach that fits your team, and I don't think they did that. I think they saw that Brian Shaw was under George Karl. They figured he would just take over for the team. George Karl put this team together, not Brian Shaw. This was George Karl's team. So, You maybe needed to maybe not reboot the entire team, but they need to fit what this man is trying to do. They're not doing that. They rank 28th offensively in efficiency, 29th in defensive efficiency. They say Brian Shaw never connected with the players. I don't think they connect with each other, and of course they never connected with him. The Nuggets need a direction to go in, folks. They need to build through the draft, obviously. Kenneth Faried, which has really come out to be their star. They gave him all this money. Kenneth Faried needs a number 2 star. He needs a number 1 star. He's a number 2. His numbers say that, folks. I'm not hating on this man. He's averaging for this season, he's averaging 11.2 points per game, 8.5 rebounds per game, and 1.3 assists per game. I mean, this man is not even a consistent walking double-double like he used to be. Those highlight plays and running around the court and, the acrobatics and things like that, those will win you games, but they're not going to win you championships. I hate to be so hostile. But he definitely needs a number 1. That 11.2 and 8.5 is not going to get it done in that deep Western Conference. I mean, think about it, folks. The San Antonio Spurs right now as we speak, are in the 7th spot in the West. The 7th spot? They won the championship last year. So you can see how hard it is in the Western Conference. And that's why nobody wants to go there. That's why LeBron chose to go back to Cleveland versus out West. He knew he wouldn't get a title out West. It'd be too hard. I'm telling you, folks, they need to go get some of these coaches with no experience and structure their coach around the team. The Atlanta Hawks are a perfect example. They identified the principles of Greg Popovich from the San Antonio Spurs and adapted them to the team. And then guess what they did? They got Greg Popovich's assistant coach to coach the team. Perfect fit. They need new coaches with no experience. They need a David Fizdale from the Miami Heat. He's a Miami Heat assistant coach. Give him a shot. Give Patrick Ewing a shot. Yes, I said it. Give Patrick Ewing a shot. He's the assistant coach for the Charlotte Hornets. Go after Kevin Ollie, the UConn head coach, won the national championship. Go after Tony Bennett, University of Virginia head coach. He's obviously running an NBA type team there. You could see it defensively. Stop hiring and stop going after these guys, these same guys. I don't understand that about the NBA, and I never have. I used to always ask my parents and my grandparents, why do they keep going after these same sorry head coaches? Why do these same sorry head coaches seem to keep getting jobs? I understand the familiarity. I understand that. But, if you look at some of their records, I just can't understand why they're going after some of these guys. I don't know. I don't understand why. I just don't. These are some of the names that they're throwing out for potential future coaches. Some of these coaches already are coaching teams, but they assume that they won't be going into next season. Vinny Del Negro, who has a professional overall record of 210 and 184, which is not bad. That's a winning percentage, but he's had his time in the league. He's been coaching since 2001 of some sort, starting with the Chicago Bulls. We know what he can do. Let him stay on the bench. Monty Williams right now is 160 and 211. That's his overall record. That's a losing record. Nothing more needs to be said. Alvin Gentry, 335 and 370. He's a good assistant coach, and that's what he needs to stay. Byron Scott, who's coaching the Lakers right now, his overall is 432 and 563. These are the names that the Nuggets organization have thrown out, folks, not me. And I just don't understand it. You need to go out and get a new guy. You need to go get a guy who is established in his own right, who has a lot of mental prowess. But first, folks, you need to structure your team first. You need to get your team together. You need to understand as a team what you're trying to accomplish so you can understand what your coach needs to accomplish. Does that make sense? I guess it doesn't to some of these NBA teams. I just don't understand it. But, for me, if I'm the Denver Nuggets, what you do is, first of all, you get your contract and you get your things together. You understand what you're trying to do with the pieces that you do have, with the Ty Lawsons, those guys. Wilson Chandler. We need to figure out what you want to do with these players. Once you figure out your core, you figure out who you want on your team, what's your team identity to be. If you want to be a big team, a small team, a finesse team, a shooting team, an inside team, a rebounding team, whatever you want to do, that needs to be figured out first. Then once you do that, then you find your head coach. Then after that, you do and you take the next steps, which is rebuilding your franchise. So I'll ask a question again, folks. Is this Brian Shaw or the Nuggets' fault? Who's to blame? I'm going to go and give that to the Denver Nuggets. All right, folks, we're going to move on to another topic. We're going to stay on the football field really quickly, and we're going to go to the National Football League. Jameis Winston met with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on yesterday. Had an all-day meeting with the Bucs. Met with the Glazer family, which is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers owners. Had breakfast with head coach Lovie Smith and talked intensively with general manager Jason Licht. The question is Winston good for the Bucs? My answer is yes. Winston was quoted as saying, being able to play 3 years in Florida, I would love to stay here in this great state. To me, what's unusual about this trip is the timing. Typically, prospects don't begin visiting teams until April. People around the league could not remember a potential number 1 overall pick visiting the team with the top selection this early in the process. So obviously something's going on. Obviously they see something that they like. The NFL did clear this, which is highly surprising to me. We know how political they are. We'll save that for another topic too. Anyways, they also plan to meet with Jameis Winston at Florida State University later this spring. He was also quoted to say, Jameis that is, I just want them to know that I am human and I am a great person. This smile isn't fake. I just want to show them that I can be the face of this franchise one day. Actions speak louder than words. To me, folks, Winston is good for the Bucs because he's the best quarterback for what that team has and is capable of doing under Lovie Smith. A lot of people are getting ahead of themselves saying they should draft Mariota, they should draft Leonard. No. You're in the NFC South, which is with my Carolina Panthers, but the NFC South is a weak division, and all you really need is a kind of a key offense to make it through that division and somewhat of a defense. We know Lovey is a defensive mind. I mean, he did take the Chicago Bears to the championship where they lost to the Colts. But at the same time, with his mental prowess, we have to understand that the Bucs have to accommodate what they have as a team. That's why I feel like they shouldn't draft Marcus Mariota, because Marcus Mariota he's not an under the center drop back conventional quarterback like what the Buccaneers need and what they run as an offense. Like I said, Winston is the best quarterback for what that team has. And it's centered around Doug Martin, that ground and pound. That's where it needs to start. They have outside weapons, Mike Evans, Vincent Jackson if he returns. But if you look at Winston's numbers, for 2013, he was 257 for 384, 66.9 completion percentage, 40 touchdowns, 10 interceptions for 4,057 yards. 2014, he was 305 for 467. Completion percentage went down a little bit, 65.3. 25 touchdowns, 18 interceptions, 3,907 yards. And of course, if you're arguing, you can say, this was a drop off. But the man still took his team, to the playoffs. He still was undefeated and remained undefeated during the regular season. So I don't want to hear all that. And I want to tell people right now, I want to tell the media right now, you're being too hard on Jameis Winston. You're being way too hard on Jameis Winston. Yes, I said it. Yes, I'm defending him. Why? Because we've all been in college. You need to leave Jameis Winston alone. Stop acting like you're so perfect. Stop acting like in college you didn't make mistakes. Stop acting like during your entire lifespan you haven't made mistakes. We've all done things that some people don't know about, some people do know about. But we have to understand he's growing up in the age of social media. All of his legal activities were found not guilty. They've been dismissed. So we got to let that stuff go. We got to leave all that stuff in the past. Everything he did before, he did at Florida State. I don't believe he's going to do that at the next level because he has too much riding on the line. His management, his family won't let him mess up. He was a kid before, and he did what kids do in college, and they do childish things. I've done it before, My peers have done it. We've all done it. If you say you haven't, you're just disillusioned. Um, People are also getting on him because he wants to trademark the name Famous Jameis. Is this good for him? Do I back his decision on that? Of course I do. People are saying that he's getting ahead of himself, things like that. He's putting too much pressure on himself before he even enters his league. I don't believe that. I don't believe that like most of the media do. Most of the media personnel, that's what they're claiming. But honestly, folks, I understand this move because it's strictly, and it's not about thinking ahead of yourself or thinking he's better than anyone or feeling like he's so great that he has to do this. It's all about merchandise. It's all about technology. It's all about Florida State University. The legacy agency represents Winston. They're the ones that have filed this plan to trademark Famous Jameis. Folks, you got to stop looking at things so narrow-minded and look at them objectively. He wants to trademark Famous Jameis just the same way Johnny Manziel, just the same way RG3 trademarked RG3, and I'll get to that later. It's not the same thing. But he wants to trademark Famous Jameis because of all the crazy things that are going on today with autograph signings and things like that. Florida State in the future, I'm pretty much sure that they're going to put out, if you go to a Florida State merchandise store anywhere in Tallahassee, wherever, what have you, and you see a shirt that says, I want to be famous like Jameis, or let's be famous like Jameis, or no one's as famous as Jameis, anything like that, he will get paid for that, as he should, because it's his name and it's him as a market and as a brand. So I totally commend him for that, and I think the media need to let that go. And a lot of people are comparing him to Robert Griffin III. Let me tell you the differences between Robert Griffin III really quickly. And first of all, let me say that I'm calling him Robert Griffin III and not RG3 because I spoke with a Washington Redskins fan the other day that said that he is Robert Griffin III right now. He's only RG3 when he plays good. So right now, folks, he is Robert Griffin III. But he tried to patent RG3 and he did trademark RG3, but the difference between the two is that Robert Griffin III had one major injury in college. He had a major injury in college. Winston didn't. He had one good year and won the Heisman. Winston was consistent for 2 years at Florida State and also won the Heisman. Let's not forget, folks, Jameis Winston has only lost one game in 27 starts. That's a big deal. You're being too hard on Jameis. You're being way too hard on him. Don't compare him to Robert Griffin III. Don't compare him to Colin Kaepernick. Don't compare him to these guys because they don't have what he has, and they haven't done what he has done on the collegiate level. So, do I think it's going to translate? Not at first, but nothing ever does. He has to get the pieces together. He has to get the right pieces around him. But do I think he has the mental prowess and the confidence and the ego to do it? Yes, of course. He could be the face of the franchise. But from a media standpoint, we need to leave Jameis Winston alone and stop being so hard on him. We need to leave him alone, folks. We need to leave him alone. Let him do what he needs to do. I don't blame you, Jameis, for trademarking Famous Jameis. I totally understand it. Oh man, I totally understand it. It's all about it's all about getting paid and it's all about money, but it's about the revenue in the business aspect of it. And I understand and I feel Jameis because he's going into the National Football League, who is more so a business than anything. And we've seen in this past year that NFL as a business will do anything to save themselves. So on that note, Jameis Winston, I commend you. I understand you completely, brother. And, I think this was a smart decision, and I commend your staff. I commend the legacy agency because we know Florida State's going to do this because of his popularity. The fans want to see it. The younger kids and the younger generation that support and back him and love him as a player and as a person, they want to see it. The Florida State boosters and alumni, they want to see it. They want to see they want to see the merchandise and things because that brings more revenue for Florida State. And by trademarking it, guess what, folks? It'll also bring some revenue for Jameis Winston. I'm not mad at him. I totally understand him and I commend him. Like I said, folks, stop being so hard on Jameis. And let's be sensitive and let's have a little bit of empathy and let's understand that this man was in college. I'm not like I said, just even comparing his situations with Adrian Peterson, some of his other things, his legal actions I'm not defending. I'm not defending his personal misconduct on campus. I'm not defending any of that, but at the same time, being a senior at Coastal Carolina University and about to graduate in May, and just thinking about to my tenure of college, I completely understand because I've done some stupid and foolish things as well. Some things I'm not proud of. We all have, not just in college, but in life. So when I hear the people like the Merrill Hodges of the world say what they say and dissing him, well, you've never been as popular as him, so you don't know what comes with it. You don't know all the pressure. You don't understand that. Even, Chris Carter, one of the great all-time great wide receivers for the Minnesota Vikings, he does a lot of finger pointing. He does a lot of judging. But let's not be so quick to judge Chris, because what I'll say in, defense of Jameis and not attacking Chris Carter or doing anything like that, because he's one of the greatest wide receivers. I'm a former wide receiver, so he's one of the people that I've watched. He's one of the greatest of all time, one of the greatest pure hands of all time. I could definitely say that. But he does a lot of dissing and a lot of judging when it comes to situations like this. And let's not forget that Chris Carter was under a little bit of siege as well. But when he first came in the league, he did some messing up, and he did mess up. And let's not forget that he was awarded a second chance. So let's not be so willing to not give people these second and third chances, because as a society, democracy, that's what we're all about. So we've let media kind of construe things a little bit, but that's okay. We'll get back to it. But, I just don't want to hear down the road when Jameis Winston is successful. Maybe he won't be successful. We don't know that. I'm not ensuring that. But let him decide that. Let his on-field play decide that. Because if it goes down the line and he becomes one of the great quarterbacks and things like that, people are going to say, well, we always believed in Jameis, and we always did this, and we always did that. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. But it's okay. Everybody wants to be a bandwagon and ride the coattail when people are being successful. But we'll see. But going back to it, folks, sorry to do a little bit of ranting, but is Winston good for the Bucks? He is. You have to take him. He's not like the last year with Jadeveon Clowney. He was just the best athlete in the draft, so they took him. And you see how it worked out. It didn't work out too well. It could potentially be a bust. Jameis Winston is a quarterback. He's a leader. He's won. He has a ring. I mean, he was coached by Jimbo Fisher, which is a good coach. I mean, we know where he's coming from. He's coming from a conventional style. He's coming from a professional style, pro style. So he's got to be good for Tampa Bay. If you're Tampa Bay, you have to take him. You can't take anybody else. If you take anybody else, you're in for another 4-win, 5-win season. So. And on that note, folks, we're going to wrap it up a little early today. I apologize for that. I think you'll understand I do have a midterm next class period at 1 o'clock, so I'm going to do a little bit more studying for that. But I want to say I appreciate everybody tuning in today. If you tuned in for the first time, however you tuned in, if you went to the coastal.edu, Coastal Carolina University's website, if you downloaded the Coastal Carolina University app, if you downloaded the TuneIn app, if you're listening off somebody's phone, whatever it is you're doing, folks, I just appreciate you for listening. And this is just the start here. We're going to take this to the next level. And hopefully in about a year or two, folks, you'll see us big time. So that's what I'm hoping. From a very young age, my mother always made me promise to put this talking too much for, put it to a paid occupation. So, Mama, that's what we're doing. I just want to say again, you've been listening to Q&A on W.C.C.U. Radio, Coastal Carolina University student radio station. I want to thank our station manager, Leah Thomas, program manager, Will Clark, for doing what they do best. And I just want to answer another quick question. A lot of people have been asking me. That is not me on the intro, folks. That is not me on the introduction. That is my favorite rapper, Lil Wayne. I chose that to be the intro to the show because that is one of his freestyles, a Sports Center freestyle off his older mixtape, Dedication 2. Go and Google and listen to that. Anyways, but yes, I just, I use that because that's pretty much a great description of me and how I feel about sports. I love all sports. I love all sports shows. Maybe except for baseball tonight. I don't really like baseball tonight because I don't like Kurt Schilling. I'm a Yankees fan. But anyways, yeah. So once you hear the intro, folks, just know, that is the start of the show. So keep tuning in from then. I want to appreciate everybody tuning in today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay warm. It's beautiful outside. Be blessed. And I'll see you Friday. This is Addison from Q&A, signing out.